So this is a quick tutorial on how to set up a Spectra Physics 945 laser to either shoot level or to shoot on slope. So I've got it hooked up to my battery already, and the power is turned on. Power indicator tells us she's up and running, she's spinning, because I've got it setting out a laser right now. First thing to know about setting slope is on the top of the machine you'll see your grade indicator and your alignment sight. So you'll see an up grade and a down grade. So when you set your slope, that's up slope or down slope. So depending on which end of your trench you're on, you need to make sure you're on the right edge. Next thing we got over here, so I got my middle switch up right there. So it's rotating right now and shooting out laser. As of right now, the slope on the other side is set to 0% at this point in time. So that means my laser is level. The green light is on, indicating it is self-leveled and it's shooting out a level beam. So if I want to set a slope on this laser, I'm going to take this middle switch and I'm going to flip it down to the slope. And what you're going to see is the laser stops rotating. And you kind of hear it buzzing a little bit. So what you need to do is take your dial and turn it up to the middle, to the triangle. So you see a plus and minus percentage. So what that's going to do is when you turn that dial to plus or minus, you're going to change your slope. Okay, so if I can get back in here, I'm going to, with my other hand, I'm going to turn it to the plus. You'll hear it kind of buzzing, and you'll see my slope start to change. So for example, I'm setting some pipe at 0.2% of slope. If I shoot past it accidentally, I take the dial, center it to the middle, it stops, rotate it back just a little bit. Hear a buzz again, that's the motor inside. Goes real slow. If I go just a little bit, and I got her set right there at 0.2%. So I got the dial in the middle, that stopped it. Now when I flip my switch back up to laser and set it back to rotate, I think that's 300 revs per minute, I would guess, something like that. You see my green light's on, that's telling me that it's set back to my grade or my level, and there it just went off because it's adjusting to my 0.2% slope. So when that light comes back on, that tells me that it's at the 0.2% slope, and then you're ready to go. So we just have to wait for that to happen. So it's rotating, slope is set to 0.2%. My light's still not on, so it's still not dialed into the 0.2%. There it's back on, so now I am at a 0.2% slope, and the way my laser is set up, I'm shooting upgrade up towards my buildings from this point. So now that the grade is set, when you use your story pole, you have to pick a point, a reference point. So either the start or the finish, for example. So I'm doing some tile work. If I was going to start, for example, down there in my ditch, if I wanted that to be my starting point, if I was shooting up this direction, I would go down there, I would get my laser lined up, get my receiver lined up, so that it was set right at my top of pipe or bottom of pipe, whichever I was choosing. And then once I had the receiver where it was showing my flat line, right, and says, hey, you're in line with the laser, I leave it there, because remember, my laser is already set to a 0.2 degree slope. So now as I dig my ditch up, it's shooting uphill at that same 0.2% slope. My receiver never moves on my story pole. So you just got to use a start or a finish point or some reference point in your dig. Now, how do I return it back to a 0 if I want to shoot level? Because when I turn this laser off, it's gonna hold at that 0.2%. So what happens every time you flip your switch down to the slope, it automatically re-zeros. So I'm going to come over here so we can watch our slope. I'm going to flip my switch down. You see it automatically drop down to 0. And actually the reason it probably does that is because I've got my laser rotating at 300, whatever, counterclockwise I think it is. But because that's on the minus side, it takes it down to 0. So that's how you re-zero your laser. It's on 0% right now. So if I flip my switch back up to laser, get it back rotating again, green light comes on instantly, says it's level. You always got to wait because it happens to come on and then goes back off. There, it's off. It's making its fine-tune adjustments to get back to 0% of slope, so perfectly level, and the light will come back on, and then you're going to be shooting back at level again. So that's how you set up your Spectra Physics 945 laser to shoot either level or slope. Hey, goat.